another edition of the S&D podcast. Dan here with Steve. You just listened to another Division 1.1 song, With a Vengeance is this week's song. Hi, Steve. How's it going this week?
I'm good. Excited.
Big week. Definitely a big week. The Mets and Yankees are facing off, so what a good week to start off our really go weekly with baseball with the Subway Series.
Especially because we're in a good mood because
we're Met fans. Yeah. Well, other than
we
that,
didn't expect a good mood.
Yeah, not at all. Anyway, we'll get to that with baseball. Where unfortunately I jinxed the Rangers, and
you suck.
And they
won the night that we recorded.
We did win the night we recorded, so that kept our Hockey Thursday night live. So Islanders Rangers hope we play on Thursday nights a lot, record Thursday nights a lot next year.
Yeah. The Islanders always won when we recorded.
Yeah.
And especially games we weren't supposed to win. So.
Exactly. So unfortunately the Rangers lost their season the series to the Boston Bruins.
And we will have later on in the show our good friend Jared. Jared will be back with us. We're going to talk Rangers. We'll talk conference finals, which both start Saturday. We're recording on the 30th. They're starting on the 1st. So we'll get his predictions. Dan and I will also do our predictions on the show for the finals, for the Eastern and Western Conference finals. We'll talk hockey with Jared, Rangers especially.
And we'll snooze through basketball. No one really cares
We'll
anymore.
flop basketball.
Ding! That's what we did.
I went there.
And I'm saying a lot, and I'm really sorry. That is really awful, annoying. Anyway, this is a S&D podcast, Dan with Steve, and here's a little bit of basketball talk. Welcome back to the S&D podcast. Dan here with Steve. You just listened to With a Vengeance by Division 1.1. You can hear us on Schmuck Sports Radio, schmucksports.com. We're going to shift our gear. We're going to start the night off with a little basketball. Congratulations to the San Antonio Spurs for advancing to the playoffs, which was very nice to see. They pretty much dominated every aspect of the series against the Grizzlies.
Dominated. No lubrication.
They know how to win. Then that's what we both said on how they were going to advance to the NBA Finals. They're just more experienced, and they'll find a way to advance.
Bill Simmons said it the best. I don't know if you saw it, but he had this nice little video about Tim Duncan.
I didn't.
And how he screwed. Basically, Tim Duncan ended up screwing Boston because he was traded to Boston.
Yeah.
Or they were supposed to be traded or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he declined.
And basically, Tim Duncan screwed Boston, and he basically said Tim Duncan might be the boringest basketball player of all time.
Which is true, but
he wins.
Has 4 rings.
He has 4 rings, not just 4 rings. I think it's two Finals MVPs.
Yeah, a couple of them.
He's an all-star basically every year.
Yeah.
And he might be the most boringest player, but they have never had a season where they've had less than 50 wins, except for the lockout years.
He's a bona fide Hall of Famer. You wouldn't get any question or debate about that. They just go out about their business, and Coach Pop is one of arguably the best coaches ever.
I would love to see them get another ring, especially as the 3.
Yeah. Manu and Parker is also, if Parker doesn't get that as much as publicity as anybody around, like Keith said last week, he's arguably top 3 in point guards. So
and nobody talks about him.
No one, and it really is amazing to see. They're just being able to find pieces and mix and match and be able to contend it year in and year out, and find ways to get to the conference finals and ultimately get to the NBA Finals. A couple of times they don't make it, obviously, but they're still of a good core team that just because they don't make it that one year, they look at the bigger picture. And that's what all the marquee franchises in every single sport look forward to. It isn't a quick fix. They'll find ways. Okay, we might not win the next couple years, but in 2 or 3 years, we'll get to the finals and play with house money and get there, pretty much like they did the last few years.
Yeah. And there probably what, top 2, top 3 in the West
every year. Every year.
And you never notice.
And you never notice. Like this year, they're the number 1 seed. Go figure.
They were the 2.
Yeah.
I think it was last year they were the 1 seed and nobody realized because
the
Nuggets
Thunder.
The Thunder were so good last year. And it's just incredible. I mean, they're not a team that's going to run up and down the court and have a highlight play on every play.
And looking back on it, and I know this is all coulda, shoulda, woulda. Only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. But a lot of Thunder fans, a lot of NBA fans themselves are going to be, what if Westbrook didn't get hurt, what would have happened? It would have been interesting to see what happened, but they're playing what they have to be played with. So congrats to them, and let's see how they play against either the Pacers or the Heat. That's our next topic of discussion.
Flop City.
Flop City. LeBron's flopping all over the place. The Pacers are
He's
down.
winning the Oscar.
The Pacers are down 3-1 in the series.
No, they're not. It's tied at 2.
It's tied at 2. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Me being at the Met game the other night really screwed things up. They're tied at 2, so they're playing tough as what everybody expected since watching the Knicks series. They could have easily be up 3-1 if they played the right way in game 1. But it's the Heat.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
They're past game 1. They're on game 4 tonight while we record on the 30th. It is currently at halftime, I believe, at 44-40 Pacers. Series tied at 2. It'll be huge for them if they can end up winning tonight on the 30th. To end up going home for game 6 with the momentum of winning the last 2 games.
Yeah.
They're in game 5. I apologize.
Yeah, they're in game 5 right now. Going home to Indy, this would be a huge...
Especially up 3-2.
Down 3-2.
Down 3-2, I can see them pulling off a win because of the crowd winning it. But I think that if they're up 3-2... It's going to
be interesting how crazy how crazy Indiana will be if they pull this off. Like you said, if they win one of the next 2 games, it's easier going to be a 7-game series because the Heat and the Pacers are just that gritty team, and they're able to take punches and they're able to fight back. They just don't take any crap from anyone, and they know that they're not the best team, but they are a team per se. But they're just taking the villain role, and they know that they're the underdogs, and they don't give a crap about it. So it's really refreshing to see. I know we were Knicks fans, so we were the favorites. But if it was any other team, it would have been nice to see. And you knew that they took that role to heart.
The Pacers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it now, and you're enjoying it now because no one likes the Heat, and they hope the Heat lose. But I really do respect the hell out of these Indiana Pacer team.
Vogel's one of the top coaches in the league right now.
Absolutely.
And you know what? This question was asked on SportsCenter this morning before I left for work. And I'm going to ask you, is Paul George elite?
Not yet. If you have him with Granger next year, when Granger comes back healthy, assuming, they're going to be even better than they were this year. And that's scary to think about.
And you could also argue that they can go out. I don't know who the big free agents are or anything, but they can go out and possibly get a big-time free agent.
Absolutely. But the thing with them is that their team is so cheap and able to get money. Like, they're able to be a team for a little bit longer.
Right, it's because of the market they're in, basically. Yeah. A lot of players don't look at Indiana as a market that wins, so to say.
Yeah.
And the best was after game 4, LeBron actually fouled out.
Yeah.
With a minute left, and everybody was tweeting that the NBA is doing a horrible job at fixing it.
They are. That's another thing.
How predictable the NBA is?
How predictable the NBA is, one, and how LeBron gets away with murder, with flopping and everything like that. I know he got fined the other day, but he's still it just drives me insane that he's 6'8", with a middle linebacker build, and point guards are able to just drive by and he flops and he falls like 30 feet in the air. And it's like, dude, come on. Really? You come on. I know it's all in an act and everything like that, but you're 6'8", act like it. And you look like fucking beep. You look like Ray Lewis. And the build, and it's just frustrating me, and that's why I don't like LeBron compared to other competitive, all-time quote-unquote elite players. There's no way you never see Jordan do that, and other guys like that.
You know what I love the most about our show is that the NBA is not listening, and we won't get fined.
Yeah.
So we can criticize anybody we want.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Of course, we're going to get a letter in the mail this week.
Letter in the mail by NBA for Dan cursing at LeBron James. Yep, right here. Pipe bomb.
You know it was the worst stat today after getting that fine? They fined him $5,000 for that. He makes like $4,000 plus per minute in every game.
That's chump change. She's like, okay, fine.
He took the money out of his shoe.
My son doesn't get doesn't get a couple months worth of a phone commercial that he did, or the Samsung Galaxy or Note commercial.
He'll just have to play one extra minute in tonight's game.
Boo-hoo.
Just to make up for it.
My heart bleeds. Anyway, congrats to the Spurs.
Okay, since tonight is Game 4, and by the time we record, I believe Game 7 would happen, because I believe 1 week from tonight's Game 1 of the finals.
Okay.
Since there's another half in the game tonight, and they're tied at 2.
Yeah.
Best of 3, who wins?
You'd be stupid not to pick the Heat.
Right, you got to pick the Heat. 2 home games.
Got to pick the Heat. They got 2 home games, but
they're also the Heat.
They're also the Heat, but that doesn't mean that the Pacers are not going to make it interesting.
Okay, so let's then change it.
It's good
from this series, and Heat.
It's going to be Heat. It's going to be Heat Spurs Game 1 in Miami. That's at the end of the day.
And can the Spurs play with Miami?
Of course they can. They've been there before. They played actually quite a few good games this year against each other. But can their stars, quote unquote stars, and their team handle LeBron? There's no shot. No one can handle LeBron. But Duncan's going to be able to control Bosh, and Parker's going to be able to control Wade for the most part. It's going to be the core guys, like always, to come down to winning the championship. And unfortunately, the Heat have more. But I can see the Spurs giving them a fight, because they've been there before and they know what to expect. The core guys, of course. So I say Spurs, Heat. They're going to be able to take care of it. They're going to be the champions, but the Spurs are going to be. But give them a little bit more of a fight than the Thunder did last year.
Well, the Thunder gave them a decent. What was that? 4 games?
5.
5 games?
I think it was 5.
Alrighty. We're gonna go play a little more Division 1.1, and we're gonna be right back with some baseball.
SNDPODCAST is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Basketball Association or any of its affiliates.
How sweet it is, baby! Welcome back to the S&D podcast. Dan here with Steve.
Oh, that was loud.
Yeah, that was very loud. I'm sorry. This is the most enjoyment you and me will get for the rest of the season. The Mets just swept the crosstown. You can't say rivals, but they're rivals. The New York Yankees.
We know you had 27.
Oh no, we don't need to go there. Let's be intelligent. Don't worry.
We are intelligent. Yankee fans are the ones who are intelligent.
The Yankee fans are intelligent. Don't start a war that we're not going to be able to win. This was the best 4 games the Mets are going to play all season. Let's be realistic. They found ways to win.
Excuse me, they're on a 5-game winning streak.
Yes, right now. But next week they'll be in a 10-game losing streak. So let's stop being cocky. It is what it is. Very great series of 4-game set from the Mets. Very proud on the way they played. Tonight was a great game. Dylan G with 12 strikeouts. Where did that come from? Pinch me there. That was crazy.
Jeremy Hefner had the game of his life.
Yeah,
also.
the Mets just got the Yankees in the right time. The Yankees are going to be fine. The Yankees didn't. The Yankees are all right. They're all right. Whatever. That's the Mets. It is what it is. So.
Yankee fans be happy you get Teixeira back and you're getting Uke back, and
the Yankee fans are fine. It's all my friends are being like, okay, whatever. And I'm being realistic. It is what it is. We're finally hot, and the Yankees B team is finally tired, and that the main guys are going to be able to finally come back and play healthy, hopefully, for the rest of the season, and the Yankees make the playoffs like they always do. But it's very great to see the Mets show up this series, 4-game set. A lot of times, the Mets don't show up. They're either scared of Yankee Stadium, or they're just not superior to the Yankees, like always, for the majority of the Subway Series. Before we get into the series, I'm not a big fan of this year's division interleague play every night, every series. I liked how it was National League versus National League every night, other than the 2 weeks out of the year. I just find it stupid. This year, maybe it was because it was a Memorial Day weekend and the big long rain delay on Tuesday night. I just didn't feel the juice at Citi Field when we went on Tuesday night. I just didn't feel the same juice this week. You didn't
feel it, and you could tell by the crowd size that it hurt.
It hurt.
This is the type of series that needs to be a weekend.
Absolutely, and you can tell. Me and my girlfriend bought tickets Sunday, knowing that Tuesday night it was going to be Harvey, and we could have gotten cheaper tickets eventually. But it's the Yankees, so we got the cheapest possible ticket. But it was still good, and you knew that was going to be fine in the price range. So, it just didn't have the same juice. Whatever you call it, maybe it was because of the rain delay on Tuesday night. But Harvey is the real deal. I finally got to see Harvey live in person, and like I told my dad the other night, I'm sure you talked to your dad the other night, but in general, Met fans in our generation finally have our Tom Seaver and our Doc Gooden, hopefully, that grew up with the Mets and is just dominant and is just a bulldog and is able to pitch his brains out whenever we can. Unfortunately, he had 10 Ks the other night. Unfortunately, the Mets didn't score any runs for him until he left the game. And he is 5-0 right now with a sub-2 ERA right now, and just cruise controlling right now in every game he pitches. It's just a main event, and it's exciting to see. Maybe when Wheeler comes up, it's going to be great having 3 solid pitchers pitch every day, which the Mets haven't had in ages. So, as a Met fan right now, we can't try to get too giddy, but when we see Harvey and we know what's coming up soon, we're starting to be able to believe.
Hope is coming up soon.
Coming soon. We have a little light at the end of the tunnel, and right now it's a little tough with the Ike Davises of the world and Ruben Tejadas, and most of the team hitting under 250. That's why I'm not too excited about getting too high about this week. The Yankees just had a bad week, and the Mets were able to capitalize. And let's see how long this takes us. The Mets play the Marlins this week, and they play the
Marlins in 2 of the next 3 series.
Yeah,
I think it is.
And that's going to be the interesting thing. It's going to be a big letdown this weekend if the Mets have that Yankee slump.
if they can,
which they could easily have. I wouldn't be shocked at all.
And honestly, if they end up taking 6 games against the Marlins, you end up taking 4 of them, they could be relevant come middle June, because Philly's struggling and the Braves aren't playing their best baseball right now. And you know what? To have meaningful baseball for the next couple of weeks to get us into July, that's all you really want as a Met fan. You know, come August, it's going to be hot, humid, and miserable at Citi Field. And so give us a little bit, and just keep it exciting at this point. That's all you got to do, is keep the games exciting. Keep the fans showing up. The All-Star Game is going to be fun. It'll probably be the biggest crowd all season there. But you never know.
You never know with the Mets. That's just pipeline. You got to take it one series at the time, and they don't have enough. I would love the Mets to make a contention like how the Oakland A's did, but they're not that good this year. Maybe in a couple years, maybe next year, who knows? But we're as Met fans, we're just happy to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Finally, seeing that our cap space is finally going to be cleared and everything like that. Let's see what happens. This week was phenomenal.
We beat Rivera.
It was just a great week for for Met fans who've been with this team through thick and thin like ourselves.
Did you see the Rivera stat about that game?
Yeah.
First time ever he's given up a blown a game.
Blown a game without an out.
No. Every time I see the Rivera stat, I just go, well, what?
Yeah, it's just amazing and everything like that. Let's move on to the Yankees. The Yankees are a very interesting topic of discussion.
Know what? Before we transition into the Yankees completely, since we're on the Rivera topic, let's get this.
Oh, you want to have this debate? I told you
best pitcher we've ever seen. Mariano Rivera. Arguably.
I can't say best pitcher we've ever seen. Best closer, of course.
My dad says he might be the best closer he's ever seen.
He's the best closer ever. There's no denying. And the longevity that he did for, on him being able to do it on one pitch in the cutter.
Yeah.
He's not the greatest pitcher per se of all time because he's a closer. I would like to reserve that right for a starter who pitches 200 innings a year with 200 strikeouts kind of thing.
Okay. So you would then take the argument to the Randy Johnson, the other side, Randy Johnson type guy, or Pedro in his prime type player.
Those are, but obviously not knocking Mariano Rivera, greatest closer of all time. But it's two different categories.
It's an arguable debate. Yeah. We could sit here all night and argue it.
We could be blue into the face and do it. And it's just one of those things. Obviously, we're never going to see a closer like that ever. But whatever.
Okay, so the Yankees.
On the Yankees, it was just one of those weeks that the Yankees, pretty much their B team finally, who carried them for the first place, finally decided to get a little quiet. Half of it had to do with the Mets pitching, which is great to see. But those guys like the Hefners of the world and the Vernon Wells, they need their rest now. They're not the main focal points of this year's Yankee team. With Teixeira coming back tomorrow and Euclid hopefully coming back tomorrow.
On the 31st, yes.
It's just they're finally getting their horses back, per se. It was a tough break that Granderson broke his pinky, and he's just
in a contract year.
I love Curtis Granderson. I loved him when he was on the Tigers. He's just a well-rounded human being. I gladly root for Curtis Granderson.
Oh, definitely. I honestly think if the Mets are serious about spending money, I wouldn't mind them going after him.
Yeah, but the thing with him is he's a great player, and he was awesome when he was a Tigers, so he could play in a pitcher's park, so that. But honestly, with guys, they're really missing those key guys. Obviously that they're normally the Yankees of our generation. So they just got to keep plugging away and keep finding wins the Yankees way, which they will. This week was the Mets called them at the right time, and the Mets found ways to win this week. And that's essentially how it all happened this week. Yankee fans obviously are not going to be panicked because they're Yankee fans. They've been through slumps, and they're playing their biggest rival this weekend, and it's going to be fun. Is it in Boston or the Yankee Stadium? It's at Yankee Stadium.
Mets are on the road.
It's going to be fun to see the Yankees bounce back because the Yankees are going to bounce back. They have their horses on the mound Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So the Yankees are going to take care of business and just find ways to beat the Red Sox like they normally do. So I'm more excited for that series than the actual Subway Series if I'm being objective and unbiased towards the Mets. So the Yankees are going to be fine. They just got the game we went to Tuesday night, like we mentioned before, Mariano blowing a save without recording an out. That obviously has never happened, and that will never happen again. I could put money on that it will never happen again. And it's just one of those things. The Mets got the bounces like a hot team would get, and the Yankees just weren't that lucky this week. The Yankee, I watched all 4 games. The Yankee that I would have to say played the best was Brett Gardner, who made amazing plays in the outfield. Daniel Murphy got robbed twice.
Daniel Murphy has dreams about him.
Yeah, he had a couple of great hits. He was the main focal point of why he got the run on Tuesday night. He actually had a phenomenal series. Who else did you think had a great series in the Yankees standpoint of things?
Honestly, can't really say anybody did.
Other than
Gardner.
Gardner, yeah. Well, last night was just a snooze fest because it was 5-0 before you were able blank. Cano had a couple of home runs. Cano is just out of his world.
Cano, you expect him if he doesn't have a couple of home runs.
Exactly. So the Yankees are going to be fine.
I'm not worried about the Yankees. Of course, it's going to be a long summer for Met fans, but you just swept the Yankees for the first time ever in a season series. Take it what it's worth, and also keep in mind to enjoy Saturday, the 1-year anniversary on June 1st of the no-hitter.
Yeah. That was a quick year.
Yeah.
Well,
we were just at that game.
Yeah. That was a long time ago.
So, enjoy the rest of the week when it comes to baseball.
Let's go Mets. Let's go Yankees. Everybody's going to be like, what? Did Dan just say let's go Yankees? I'm going to be biased.
We're not playing them anymore. Who cares?
That too.
So, good radio. That's all I want. I want able to have good radio conversations.
And weekly. we're gonna have a lot more with baseball. We got a lot of guests in mind for baseball.
Yep.
It's gonna be a lot like our football shows, if everybody remembers those from back in the day.
Yeah.
Where we'll do Mets segments and we'll do Yankee segments for everybody. Because that's all we're gonna have for 2 months.
Yes. Just get us to football training camp and we'll be fine.
Yeah. If the Mets are relevant till football season, it would be really nice. Just get us to July. Mid-July. All-Star game. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking. All I'm asking is the All-Star game.
SNDPODCAST is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by Major League Baseball or any of its affiliates.
And welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Steven and Dan are here, and once again, you were just listening to With a Vengeance by Division 1.1. We would like to welcome in our special guest for the evening, Jared. Welcome back, Jared.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Not a problem, Jared.
As you all remember, we had him on a little while ago, and we were talking Ranger hockey with him and NHL hockey with him. So now that the season's over, and we have been doing guests for our reviews.
Yeah, this is this is our final week of reviews and previews for the upcoming season. It was a bittersweet watching the Rangers season end.
Such high hopes. High hopes.
I don't know what was sweet about it, but I understand the bitter part.
No, well, we the last 3 weeks we've been doing the Islander, the end of the year Islander. That was the first one. Then last week I had my Knicks upset with Keith, and now we're doing the final leg with you.
We never did a Nets one. Oh well. We have no friends who like the Nets. That's why.
Two people.
That's a good thing.
So it's great to have him on also about Tortorella being fired yesterday. If you haven't heard about Tortorella being fired,
Mike Francesa broke the news.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything though. But anyway, let's talk about a little bit of high notes first before we bring the depressing stuff. What did you take out of the good of this year's Ranger team?
Oh, am I supposed to say something positive now?
Crickets. No, try to find something positive, and then you will bash them for the rest of the segment.
I really liked Anton Stralman this year. I thought Stralman was one of the top defensemen for the team, especially stepping up when Stahl went out with the injury. I think Stepan really came into his own. He's a bona fide top six, could easily be the number one center for the team too. And even though it was a shortened season and it didn't seem like he played that well, Nash came on strong at the end, and he showed a lot of moves to make everyone see that this guy really is the real deal. And while he didn't have such a huge body of work to look at, the guy can really play.
Yeah. I think for the most part of the season, Nash did carry the Rangers for the most part with the goal scoring in the third period. Unfortunately, that didn't carry over in the playoffs. And I agree with you with Anton Stralman. He stepped up huge once Stahl, unfortunately, gets a puck to the eye, which you don't see very often, to just maybe damage his career. I think Ryan McDonough, like we mentioned, he also stepped up huge this year, playing over 30 minutes a game, which is phenomenal to see. Their overall defense played better this year. A lot of disappointment, obviously, is the power play and the goal scoring overall. Other than Stefan and Nash, there wasn't really that many other goal scorers or coming through with clutch goals or anything like that. Of course, you're going to have players like Callahan, who's going to score the occasional goal and try to lift the Rangers up. But other than the Nash and Stefan, there really wasn't any goal scoring. And that's where the Rangers season really came falling apart, because you didn't really know where the goals were going to come that night. And that was the dagger that killed the Rangers this year.
I mean, it sounds like we've been saying the same thing for so many years already.
Yeah,
that the power play is bad and that they can't score goals, and it's amazing how they can't fix that.
Yeah, no, it really is amazing how they can't fix that. And I don't know what they need to do. Some nights, I don't know, it might just be me, but since you play hockey a little bit more and more on a higher level than I have, I see there's areas of Rangers that they should be able to shoot the puck, and there's clear lanes to the goalie, and they just don't shoot. They hesitate or pass it away, and then they just screw up the power play. Do you agree with me on most of that?
Yes.
Or
no.
is that because we're just expecting them to shoot because we just want them to shoot on the net just to see what happens?
When we're sitting in the crowd or watching the game on TV, and we see the guy in the corner look up at the point and see that the man is open. Yeah. We know how much space he has.
Yeah.
We know that he's wide open.
Obviously, they're not going to know that, of course.
It's a lot easier from the crowd to see what.
Well,
the better players know.
Yeah.
You should be conscious of how much space you have, and just everything going on. But sometimes we're all yelling shoot before the guy even gets the puck.
Well, of course.
But the lanes that are there, they're open for maybe a split second, and you have to pull the trigger right away. And other times where they don't shoot, and they could, but at the same time, they take a lot of shots that go right to the defenseman.
Oh yeah,
we're not helping the cause all the time.
Okay, that's another point, and the defenseman never hitting the net as well. It's just a mess. It really is a mess. And what's really sad was in the series against Boston, they had Boyle out there a lot, and that's the only time they really had anything going for their putrid 2 for X amount of on the power play. They had their third line guys on the power play when they should have been able to wish they were able to get their main key guys, and that was just a head scratcher throughout the whole season, and let alone the playoffs when they weren't able to produce at all.
I mean, I liked having some of those guys out there because you keep doing the same thing and it's not yielding any results. You got to change it up. And it's not like some of these lesser guys don't know how to play the power play. I mean, like, for example, he only really did it towards the end of the Boston series. But if you're dressing Kreider, the guy should be out there in the power play. He's played
exactly.
He's played extensive power play minutes at every level in his life. I mean, inject some new blood. If you keep running the same formations and the same patterns, it's not going to go anywhere. And another guy, McDonough. This guy's one of the best puck handlers on the team. He's a very good skater. He knows how to make good plays. Why not put him on the point?
Know who McDonough reminds me of? And I hope I'm right. Hopefully I'm not speaking too soon. I really see a lot of Brian Leetch in McDonough.
I mean, I could see the comparisons, but I mean,
too early.
Leetch was
Leetch was
a bigger scorer. Too.
No, I feel he's a little bit of a poor man's version of Brian Leetch. Like he'll get the key goal if you need it, but he's always Mr. Reliable in his own zone and everything like that. Over the year, McDonough became my favorite Ranger when I would be watching the Ranger games. So I have a little kinship towards McDonough because he always made the right play other than Game 2 in the Cap series. And it was just one of those fluky things that it would have happened to anybody. With Torts being fired yesterday, guys like Kreider and the young guys, JT Millers of the world, and the other players that were in Torts' doghouse for the majority of the year, where do you think those guys are going to be standing next year with the brand new coach? Do you think they're going to be able to get a fair shake and maybe break out like we're all hoping for the next few years?
It really depends on who's going to coach the team.
Yeah.
I think if they go with more of an internal candidate, then you might see some similarities. I know Jim Schoenfeld's name has been mentioned, and he's been assistant coaching and assisting Sather and being the GM of the Well. So, he's got a pretty hands-on approach to the team. Ian Messier's been around the team, and he's been mentioned as a possible candidate. And not that I've heard his name, but, I mean, I'm not sure you could rule out Mike Sullivan either. Knows the team pretty well. If they go outside the organization, which I would hope they do, everyone gets a fair shake.
Yeah.
There's no team, there's no anything. And with a new coach coming from someplace new, everyone's going to do their best to impress him. And I think that everyone gets a fair shake.
I'm gonna throw a name at you after the awful power play this season. Would you consider one of the beat writers for the Islanders, Doug Waite, as your head coach?
Doug Waite is the head coach? No.
No, you're not ready yet.
No, because for this Rangers team, you need someone who's pretty established. And that's why I think Messier is not a good choice for
it. He's not established as a coach.
I mean, he's done some coaching with some Team Canada and in various tournaments, but I don't think he's ideal for the team.
I think where the Rangers are with their building stage, sorry to interrupt, with the Rangers stage of development and everything like that, is they need to win now. So they need to get that coach that will put them, like maybe a Lindsey Ruff. That's the couple of names that I've been hearing floating around. Don't hold me to that. I don't know how realistic that is, but a guy like that who's been around forever and he's a solid coach, but it just happens that he was with Buffalo for as long as I've been a hockey fan.
Well,
so
like 14 and a half.
Yeah. So the Sabres just needed a breath of fresh air, and maybe he just needed that little time off to regroup and get his coaching skills together. I would see him being a great candidate for the Rangers. He's a great guy, a great team guy, and hopefully the Rangers find a way to get him. He pretty much coached the same team to the Stanley Cup with Dominic Hasek when they went to the Stanley Cup with the Sabres many moons ago that they were a good team, but it wasn't that great of a team. They just had Hasek at the top of the net goalie and making every save every possible night and finding ways to score goals that night.
See, I'm not such a big fan of Lindy Ruff.
Okay.
I never really did anything.
Well, that's my point. I mean, the only thing that people remember about the Sabres' runs in the playoffs under Lindy Ruff is, like you said, Brett Hull's skate in the crease.
Yeah.
It's the only thing people remember about it. But, the guy was tenured. He was well-liked there. He played most of his career in Buffalo before finishing with the Rangers. I mean, he was a good fit, a local guy, something that a smaller market could buy into to help them through times when they might not be as good. I mean, given that, in the last 10 years, he's only been to the playoffs 4 times, even though all 4 were in the last 7 and 2 included back-to-back conference finals. Right. But I don't think he's the right guy for the team. I mean, my choice personally would be Alain Vigneault from the Canucks. The guy knows how to win in at least the regular season. And, in first place in the division 6 of the last 7 years. That's something players buy into.
He's got, 3 President trophies? At least 2.
2 in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
This year was the only year they didn't get it, but they still got first in their division.
Well, the better question would be is that if he wants it, are you going to let Luongo be your backup?
Thankfully, with the Rangers, goaltending is not a position we have to worry about.
One thing you don't. But speaking of goaltending, of course, the name has been brought up this week because it is now the final final year of a contract he's going into.
The Rangers would be stupid and they'll lose
at
their
what,
fan
$8
base.
million?
No, the current contract has a cap hit in the 6s.
In the 6s, but he's making like 8.
I'm not sure the annual value, but I'm sure it's higher than the cap hit.
So we know we were talking before we brought you on with us about your plan. So why don't you share the Henrik Lundqvist long-term plan?
Well, I don't really think it's a question given his comments to the media. I think that was kind of fueled with all the torch stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He's coming back. He loves New York, and he loves the spotlight. So
I think there's only a couple possible ways where Lundqvist doesn't sign with the Rangers. One of them would be to play with another marquee Swedish player someplace else.
Fair enough.
And the other one would be for like a surefire shot at winning. I mean, how great would he look in a Blackhawks jersey?
Yeah, he would look. Honestly, any team that
too bad they can't
or Red Wings
to pay
jersey.
anybody over $1 million for the next 6 years.
But I also think at the same time, the type of lifestyle he lives. I think he lives in Westchester, hangs out in the city. He plays in a band with John McEnroe. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that anywhere else.
He's going to be a New Yorker for life with in terms of his athlete. Who doesn't love Henrik Lundqvist? Obviously, the diehard Islander fan and Devil fans, but they're still they're in the closet. But liking them, I'll admit, I do like Henrik Lundqvist. Everybody's gonna.
Well, we all have those guys on teams we don't like that we actually really root for.
He is a stud, and you just wish you're Henrik Lundqvist every now and then, just in his high tailored suits. He is Barney Stinson. Granted, he's married with kids, but he I'll never forget. I went to a Ranger game a couple years ago, and my friend likes to wait outside and meet players, and we were meeting players, and lo and behold, Henrik comes walking out in his iPhone head buds in, just stripping of sex, because he's just in his tailor suit.
Everybody, you heard that.
No, but Henrik Lundqvist is a sexy son of a bitch, and I will be the first to admit it. And you're like, yeah, he's like James Bond. He just any player could just walk in with like slacks and everything like that, and like a nice polo. He comes down like with a tie. Don't worry, guys, I got this kind of thing. And you can't get that a lot. And Henrik is one of those classy guys that guys want to be him and girls want to be with him kind of things.
He is pretty phenomenal.
He's all right. He's all right.
I can't say there's anyone on the Islanders that I really enjoy so much.
Nah, yeah.
It's unfortunate.
John Tavares, but
I mean, he's just good, but that's about it.
Yeah. No.
Well, of course, it comes back to after that first round series of everybody saying if Lundqvist got the run support the goal support that Nabokov got, there would have been a cup on Long Island.
If this and if that, and who knows? If Rick Nash scored goals, maybe the Rangers would have won games.
Well, that was my biggest question for the Rangers going into the playoffs. How would Rick Nash react to not just postseason play, but New York postseason play?
The thing with Rick Nash is, this is what I feel about Rick Nash, that he was their guy, so every team shut him down, and it was up to the other guys around him, his supporting cast.
Yeah, but he's the type of player that if you shut him down, he'll still get a goal and an assist.
Exactly.
That was the bulk of his career in Columbus, where he was the only player on the whole entire team.
Worth it.
And he was still managing to do some things.
So,
but I mean, given he was playing against Chara virtually every shift, not the point though. If you're a top elite forward in the league, you should be able to be somewhat productive against elite defensemen.
What did he end up with? About 6 points in the postseason?
I think 1 goal.
One goal and about 6 points.
But honestly,
you know who had more goals than him? Aaron Asham.
Yeah, but honestly though, let's be fair with
so did Colin
Nash.
McDonald.
Be fair with. I know he's supposed to score. That's what we paid him for. Yada yada yada. But he set up majority of the goals there in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I think a guy like Brassard was actually
he was
maybe
the
best player on the team.
He was
the
the best player of the playoffs. Absolutely.
It was,
doesn't even come close.
A really good find in the Gabrick deal. I mean, I think a lot of people were starting to second guess the Gabrick deal now that Tortorella's out. Maybe saying that he was moved only because of Tortorella in the system. But if you look at it, the team did really well in that trade. Dorsett is going to be a good player for this team. He is the typical fourth-line player that they need, not a Brad Richards on the fourth line, a guy who's going to skate hard, finish his checks, and grind. You know, John Moore has been like a stud out of nowhere. I mean, I think everyone was surprised about how good this kid is.
Yeah.
You know, late first-round pick, but still, I think he really. I don't think anyone really thought he was going to stick with the team the entire season.
Well, did you see the Marian Gaborik tweet after Tortorella got fired?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
It was similar to the Sean Avery tweet.
Everything happens for a reason, which is really funny to see because he didn't want to be here. He didn't want to be coached by him.
Yeah. Kind of just what it is. But he did sign with the team knowing that he was the head coach.
Right.
Yes, he did.
So coming in, he thought cup. But
and he did play defensive systems his whole career in Minnesota beforehand.
Right. Larry Robinson was one of the coaches there.
And Jacques Lemaire.
Yeah.
All that.
They took the New Jersey Devil boring hockey and put it in Minnesota.
Why do you think Parisi signed there?
That's right. Perfect fit. So now that you're in the off season and some guys we know will be free agents, some guys will be bought out. What is your initial plan, Jared, for the Ranger off season?
I think first and foremost, you got to look up your own guys. I don't think the free agent class this year is so deep that you have a lot of big key guys out there. Not young ones, at least. I mean, I know a guy people like right now is like Brian Bickle. I mean, that guy's going to be... He's a good player. He's playing really well for Chicago now, but he's not like such an impact guy. What they got to do is they got to lock up the restricted guys. Stepan, Hagelin, McDonough, Moore, Zuccarello. I mean, those are the key guys right now. First and foremost, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ryan Clough. I know he wanted a long-term deal, and he accepted a trade to the Rangers because he had interest in staying here long-term. But with potential head injuries and missing a lot of time, he only played in one playoff game. I mean, this is a guy that makes a big difference. This is a guy that scores goals and finishes checks. He's not such a fourth liner. He's a glorified player. He's a better version of Brandon Prust because he actually scores goals.
Yeah, then that's what the Rangers missed this year. Like we mentioned the first time you were on the show, the Rangers didn't really have that grit this year.
Yeah, they were top in the league in fights last year, bottom of the league in fights this year.
Yeah, they just didn't have the fight this year. No pun intended.
But at the right price, I would love to have Ryan Clough back because that's the type of player we need. That being said, depends on who the coach is.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Depending on who's the coach and what type of style, it really is really interesting. All the dominoes will fall when they pick a coach.
Yeah, and I think also,
but the first
Richards
few
dominoed.
But the few names that you mentioned, the first few, they're obviously going to come back.
I would think so. I don't really
Especially
see...
Stefan is going to be coming back. Hagelin is going to be back. Who was the other one you mentioned?
John Moore.
Okay, John Moore.
And Zuccarello.
Zook, if he comes back, he comes back. If he doesn't come back, oh well.
I think he'll be back because the whole reason he didn't come back in the beginning was because he wanted a one-way guaranteed contract.
Yeah,
and they weren't going to give it to him. And he showed he deserves to stick around. I mean, he makes these plays. This is a guy, I saw him hitting Chara in the boards. Like, this is the smallest guy out there.
It was back when, it was kind of like when Chara was an Islander. Him and Fleury. Have 5'10" Fleury going after 6'9" in Chara. And they would fight every time they were on the ice together.
I think PJ Stock might have been on the Rangers at that time, too.
Yeah, yes, he was.
Now, we know you have another plan for the Rangers that we were talking about earlier. Look, it's your Jared. Why don't you share your Jared New York Ranger dream?
I don't think Jared wants to break this pipe dream yet.
Well, look, I'll just take into all things considered. I am a Rangers fan. We like to go make a big splash and get top names that are available. So, as of right now, before all those restricted guys get signed, next year, after this season for 14-15, after two seasons from now, the only guys we have under contract are Nash, Dorsett, and Stahl. Henrik's up, Callahan's up, Girardi's up, and all these other guys still need to get re-signed for this year. So, next offseason, the top free agent prize is Evgeny Malkin. A guy can dream, right? But there won't be that many guys on the books. And, hey, we're the Rangers. We've done it before, and we'll do it again.
And you know what? Alexei Ashton comes off the books in a couple years. He could be in Brooklyn also.
Malkin is the Messier to Crosby's Gretzky. I know it's a little premature, but getting Messier worked well once for us. So who knows? Maybe do it again. I actually saw something the other day. I think it was ESPN, so it was Melrose and a little nonsensy, but they were comparing today's Penguins to the Oilers. They're saying how Crosby's Gretzky, Malkin is Messier, Letang is Coffey, Neil is on his way to being like a Yari Curry type. It was interesting, kind of scary at the same time.
Right.
Like obviously he's just pulling stuff out of his butt, but if they do stick around together for a couple more years, they could very well be that
James
comparison.
Neal, that's a guy I like. That guy's good.
Yeah, I mean, he can literally... I remember one of the games I was at in the playoffs, I was talking to Brian Rosen, and it was just one of those, you blinked, and Malkin and Neil are on a 2-on-1, and you just knew it was like one of these guys is about to put the puck in the net, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a steal with trade for Pittsburgh, giving up Goligoski.
Yeah.
And during the offseason, Brad Richards had put in this hurricane relief game in Atlantic City, and James Neal played. Scored 4 goals.
Yeah, I was actually there. It was pretty awesome.
He was really, really good. I mean, this guy could play, and to think he's not even a top 2 on his team.
Right. And he's not even that important on that team. Nobody thinks about James Neal when it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It's like no one thinks about Chris Kunitz either, but that guy he was like one of the top fantasy players in hockey.
Right. And James Neal is just one of those guys. He can just stand in any spot and has one of the best shots in the league.
Oh, exceptional.
So, seeing that we're talking a little Pittsburgh Penguins, we might as well transition. As a lot of people know, this is the SNDP podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network, and we've had some people, including Jared and myself, we've been doing brackets on our Facebook page with a bunch of people. They've been helping us out. So thank you to everybody who's done it. I know I got a couple picks in. A couple of people have sent them in already for the conference finals. In the Eastern Conference, we're going to start with them. Since we are East Coast guys, we'll start with the Eastern Conference. Jared is one of the guys doing the brackets with us, so we'll start with Jared. Penguins, Bruins. A little preview and a prediction.
I got to see a lot of the Bruins firsthand this past series versus the Rangers, and they are a difficult team. They have, we were talking about guys we like who on teams we don't like. Milan Lucic. Yeah. I like that guy. That's the guy I want on my team. Big physical guy who puts the puck in the net and gets everyone going. He got everyone going in that game against Toronto where they came back. I think the Penguins are too much for them.
Yeah, with this team, this is going to be a perfect matchup. Both teams have 4 lines that are able to score and forecheck and do everything. That's how the Rangers lost that series to the Bruins. They had 4 lines able to find a way to score a goal every night of each of the 5 games.
And it's funny because it was the same problem last year. The Devils' 4th line killed the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you would think that they'd be able to get past that. But, I mean, this is an experienced Bruins group. They won the Cup. Guys like Thornton and Campbell and Paille, these are guys
they've raised the cup. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And once again, we forgot to mention that the final 4 teams are the last 4 Cup winners.
Which is that's really something.
And arguably the best 4-run organizations in the league.
Yeah. I think coming into
you can argue
the
Kings might not be up there, but, I
think coming into this season, if you would have said that these 4 teams would be in the final 4, I don't think anyone would have blinked an eye. I know the Rangers are very highly ranked, but as a Ranger fan, I hate to see that because it's almost like a jinx before we even get started.
All right, so Penguins, Bruins, who wins and how many games?
I'm going to say the Penguins in 6.
Okay.
I just think that the Penguins are just going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling, and this team seems to score goals at will, and Vokun has been incredible. I mean, who would have thought a guy that had barely played all season is coming in?
Well, that's why they got
carrying
him.
Them. Yeah,
was the postseason, and
they must have known something regarding the lockout because a lot of teams struggled with a little bit of goaltending. Pittsburgh wasn't one of them.
Right. Even early in the year, they were fine with goaltending.
Yeah,
playing both of them.
Yeah, I mean, and I think in seeing Boston a little more, Boston definitely beat the Rangers. The better team won that series. They outplayed them, but the Rangers, they didn't play so great, and where they slacked off are areas that Pittsburgh takes care of and finishes off, like the power play, for instance. I mean, Boston won the Cup that year with a horrible power play, but, I mean, the Rangers got so many chances against them, it couldn't do anything. Pittsburgh's not going to let that slide, and that's going to be a huge factor in the series.
I think it's going to be Penguins in 7. Same reasons you said, but I think the Bruins find a way to win a couple games, especially at home.
So, Dan, your pick?
Penguins in 7.
Okay, Penguins in 7.
And I pretty much agree on the Penguins standpoint as Jared, but I think the Bruins are going to be able to steal a couple of games in Boston to make it interesting.
I'm actually looking at
it with the toughness of everything like that.
I'm looking at it the other way. I think that Boston's more of a physical team, and they're going to push Pittsburgh a lot more. The Islanders showed that if you push Pittsburgh around, especially their weaker lines, they'll struggle. Your top guys are going to score goals. James Neal's going to score goals. Kunitz is going to score goals. Malkin's going to get his points. Crosby's going to get his points. But when you push the players around on Pittsburgh, they struggle, and Boston does that. One thing I noticed this year a lot with the Northeast Division was all those teams just use their big bodies. They're just the big teams. So that's why a big part of me thinks that Boston can actually take this series because they'll get the garbage goals. Boston, I think it was Barry Melrose who said it the best the other day. Boston's a team that could win a 1-0 game. Can Pittsburgh win a 1-0 game? Because Pittsburgh relies on scoring 4 or 5 goals a game, not their defense. If it's close late in the game, can Pittsburgh pull it out?
Yeah, I mean, we know Boston can come through in the clutch to Ken Pittsburgh.
Right. So I'm going to say Boston in 7.
Ooh.
Not just to be different, but I have that feeling that it's just... I kind of got that feeling once the bombing, I don't want to bring it up, but once that happened, Boston's going to go far. Cup, I'm not going to go yet. We're not going to get there. But finals, I think that's going to happen. So now we're going to switch gears over to the Western Conference Finals. And the defending Stanley Cup champions are playing the Chicago Blackhawks. So, LA Kings, Chicago Blackhawks. Talk about two different markets.
Well, I'm just glad that the Chicago Blackhawks are playing.
Oh, yeah. There would have been riots in Chicago last night.
I can't believe that. That's just bad. And it was a hell of a shot, too.
That was a rocket.
So,
I mean, this is a tough one because if there's one thing that I really think beats the Blackhawks, it's like it's a grind and goaltending, and I think the Kings are able to do both of those things.
And they are the defending Stanley Cup champions, so they've been there before. So it isn't one of those underdog story matchups that everybody else thinks it is.
I mean,
your heart. I by the look of your face, I have a sense of what you're saying. You want to say Kings, but your heart is saying Blackhawks in some sort of way.
I'm actually the opposite.
Oh.
I want to say Blackhawks, but I feel like the Kings are just going to beat them.
Okay.
Maybe a Ranger fan, partial to Original Six, keep it strong from within. But I really like the Blackhawks, and nothing says Stanley Cup like Patrick Kane victory party.
Well, that's why I'm picking the Hawks to win the cup. I want to go to Buffalo just for that one day where he has the cup.
I want to go with Chicago.
You're gonna go Hawks in,
but I want to go Chicago in 7.
Okay, so you're predicting a 2-long series.
Yeah, I mean LA is good, and Quick will win those 1-0 games for them.
Right.
But the only problem is making sure that they only get down to
1-0 games. Yeah.
I like how I'm gonna say Blackhawks in 6. They just have too much firepower. I think Quick is gonna be good, like always. Obviously, Quick's one of those starting to become one of those elite goalies. But the Blackhawks have too much firepower, and the offense of the Kings can't handle that. So I say Blackhawks in 6.
I actually agree with you, Dan. I'm going to say Hawks in 6. I can actually see a wacky goal like when the Hawks won the cup.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's going to know a win in the net except Patrick Kane. And the drinking will just begin from that point on. And
he still has the mullet going this year, right?
Of course.
Oh, boy.
He can't grow
Classic.
facial hair.
No, he kind of has the Wolverine going on. Like, he's trying to grow facial hair, but it's just not happening.
I did forget that Chicago has the Michael Roosevelt factor.
That too.
So that might work against them.
Oh, no.
But, hey, he's still playing and the Rangers aren't.
The one thing I like about the Kings is that, what's their names? Richards and
Carter
on the team.
Flyer boys. So the party.
So they could always go to homegrown with cups. Get it? And have a party.
Well, I mean, I like that the guys leave Philly and they do well.
And they do. Yeah.
I guess this comes from having Philly as a local rival, and same thing with Bobrovsky. Look at him this year, and he's a Vezina candidate.
Right, and also possibility on the cover of NHL 14.
That would really be something, right?
Considering he may play in Russia next year, who knows?
I think it's just leverage. He was phenomenal there.
Yeah, it's definitely
in the lockout.
He was. So we all have the Hawks. I'm the only one going Boston. I think Boston can do it.
Hey, Boston's strong. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be all about the fourth lines, and they both equally have ridiculous fourth lines. But it comes down to special teams, and the Penguins obviously have a lot better special teams than the Boston Bruins. So when it all said and done, and we all know the Penguins are gonna get favorable calls. When it all said and done,
the NHL doesn't do that.
But it's all said and done, the Penguins win. But I say Penguins in 7. So,
you know what's interesting about the play that happened in the Chicago-Detroit game last night? Everyone says that it's because they wanted Detroit to win, but nobody says that it's because they wanted Game 7 to go to overtime.
Ooh,
right?
That's interesting.
Think about that. They didn't care who won as long as it goes to overtime. Last game for 2 days. Get as much rating out of it as you can.
I get that, but I think for a Chicago-Detroit game, the ratings are probably pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
They said it was one of the highest rated Game 7s of all time. Original 6s, rivalries, and it was also the last time the Detroit Red Wings will ever play in the Western Conference.
Yeah, isn't that something?
So,
that was it. I'm Steven. Dan's over there. Thank you for joining us. This was the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. We're going to play a little more Division 1.1, and we'll be right back.
S&D Podcast is no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Hockey League or any of its affiliates.
And welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, thank you to Division 1.1 for the amazing music every week. We couldn't do the show without them, without their great songs. Tonight's song was off the album With a Vengeance. The song's actually called With a Vengeance. So check them out. Facebook, Twitter. Don't have an Instagram that I know of. Check them out also on CD Baby, Amazon, any place you can get CDs. Make sure you follow them on Facebook. They do a lot of things with a couple of local New Jersey radio stations with calling in and requesting them and just playing their music all night. So make sure you listen up and pay attention to them as well. We share a lot of the things. Tonight was a fun show. Thanks again to Jared for joining us. Also, before we continue, I want to thank, a couple weeks ago, Andy again for joining us for the Islander review.
And we're going to have a great summer coming up. A lot of big news coming up shortly, so stick with us with that.
Another thanks to Keith for last week with the Knicks review.
Yeah.
We apologize for not having the Nets review like we discussed before. We completely blanked out with that. But it is now
we actually gave our own net review, so it's all good. We would have had to bring Evan Roberts in or someone like that to have a net review.
Exactly. And we're not getting Evan Roberts anytime soon that we know of. We will try, but we probably won't get him. But tonight was a fun show. Once again, thank you to Jared for joining us. Thanks for Division 1.1 for the...
Enjoy your baseball this week and playoff basketball and hockey.
One more shout out for Kayla for the legal stuff.
Of course.
We always got to make sure we thank her. So I hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys next week.